Okay. So checking. Hello? So yes, we'll get started. So for those of you that don't know, basically, this live
Checking.
stream is going to first of all, it's a weekly live stream, so we'll choose a stock, we'll go through
So
technicals, and
yes,
we'll
we'll
do
get
a little bit
started.
of.
So for those of you that don't know,
Sorry, I think I put the sound on, but for those of you who don't know, basically I'll start out like it's every week we're going to choose a stock. You can comment below if you have a stock in mind, but basically we'll go over the technicals together. We'll talk about what the company does, maybe give a little bit of a short term. There instead of making this a lengthy like whole thing on modeling, just kind of high level, we'll kind of talk about maybe talk about the company. If you have questions, you can talk, but it's just kind of a question. Mainly stick around to the oil and gas energy sector, but if there's a sector or something interesting, feel free. And I'll just So let me pull it up. Actually, I have like a bit of a dashboard that I have developed. Hold on a second. But basically, I'm not sure if you guys can see. Actually, let me switch. I think, yeah, that's better. I think now you can see my screen. Basically, I've filled this dashboard, and I figured this is a good way to actually just kind of talk about the stock. Um, doing so. Hold on a second. Yeah, so we're doing first of all, I'll start off by saying today's company is Northern Oil and Gas. So those of you who don't know, they're like a pretty large company that operates in the upstream of the oil and gas sector. Their main thing is so they buy minority stakes, usually 15 to 25% roughly of a of upstream, so drilling companies, drill pads, that sort of stuff. And basically they opt yeah so they opt they'll get so no I mean you can confuse it with royalties, but basically so companies so for example an oil well might have multiple investors. So this company is doing is taking minority stake, so after royalties are deducted, after overhead and all that sort of stuff, the payout they receive so I guess it's more risky what they're doing, what they're investing directly in as opposed to just indirectly and getting royalties. So kind of like overview, I'll just try to reload it. Uh, Basically, so let's go. I guess we're out to 2021. Let's go back to 2020. This is kind of interesting. I wanted to so I'll start by saying this is that the company more recently doesn't look like I guess it doesn't look like they've done very well right recently. So like if we zoomed out let's go back out a lot farther. Yes, so farther. I guess let's go back to 2010 maybe, and then maybe June, I don't know, 8th, load data. Really works. Floating. See, so kind of it went up, and let's even zoom out farther. I don't, let's even show see. Even zoom out farther, but you see the company did well a while back, and then it's kind of not done. It's kind of remained very steady, and something interesting, I guess you can see down there. Let's zoom in a little closer, but we can kind of see that there's possibly probably more, just a lot more selling, but let's zoom back. I kind of zoomed out. I know I zoomed out, but I just wanted to kind of show that historically, I mean, it did very well back in the early to mid, I mean the tens, early 2000s, the tens, 2010s. But then I guess more recently it's kind of leveled out. You've seen a bit more. And we'll see there's a bit of volatility happening now when you look at the company. But let's zoom into 2000 and 2020. Let's go to 2022, 2023, January. Let's go 3rd. Yeah. And yeah, you can kind of see there's been a lot more volatility, and even that, and again, like I said, like more recently in 2025, we saw it drop. Um, and yeah, there was like for example, here there was a dip, there was like mass in 2023. There was again, there was a lot of selling. You're seeing here, there's a lot more selling going on. Um, and I'll turn on the RSI, the relative strength index, and the moving average, convergence divergence, MACD. For those you don't know, so basically the way it works is, well, first of all, look at RSI. So we chose a 14-day RSI. Basically, this is a momentum oscillator. Goes and we're kind of looking. We want to see if it's overbought or oversold. So if it's above 70, we can say it's overbought. It's below four. If it's below 30, it's underbought. And it's kind of interesting because again, we've seen a lot of volatility. The stock's kind of dropped, but then I guess if you're looking at the 14-day RSI, you can kind of see. And let's actually zoom in because it's easier when you visualize these. It's easier to see more like, I don't know, like maybe a year out. Let's go to 2025, January 1st, load data. Again, yeah, you can see there was like there was a lot of selling happening. I mean, April, July. And actually, I'll go into that. There was a bit of cyclicality. Something interesting with the stock. There is a bit of cyclicality with it. Basically, this is RSI can kind of, if you see RSI jumping a lot, it's another indicator that maybe there is a lot of momentum happening. So I mean, for a while, despite all the drop, it did approach. It was more volatile around here. Here we're kind of seeing that it really is approaching the underbought territory. Whether that's more, I guess that's kind of reflective in the performance. But it would be something interesting. Maybe we can look at in a bit, possibly. Moving average, convergence, divergence. So basically, what it's doing is it's taking the difference between the the exponential moving average of the 26-day moving average and the 12-day moving average, and basically if it's if it's above, if the trend is above, then it's bullish. If it's below, then it's if the difference is above the trend line, then if the difference is above the moving average trend, then it's overbought. I mean, or it's bullish. Sorry, not overbought. Sorry, it's bullish. If it's below, if it's below, then it's bearish. So that would be overbought. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting here because um, because it's I don't know, like we're seeing here, there's a lot of volatility. Like I said, I keep repeating that stuff, but you see it's approaching the underbought. Then here we're even seeing the MACD. It's below the it's slightly below. I mean, it's kind of trended along, which is another interesting comment to make too, that it's kind of followed it. It's been more, but it's kind of below and it makes sense actually, but it's slightly below right now the what do you call it, the moving average. And that's probably, I mean, you can see here there's been a bit of selling. um I mean here there's a bit of selling. Let's kind of look at some of the statistics, and I thought this would be interesting to kind of bring up, but I prepared like a little bit of a dashboard. A bit fancier than it needs to be honest. But today's return was 1.1% approximately. That's everything now. I can reload it, and yeah, I can reload that. We're talking since the beginning of 2025, like January 1st, basically. But um, it's the kurtosis. For those of you who don't know, skew is basically if it's right or if it's moving. So it's basically it's the direction, the distribution of returns is swayed towards, if that makes sense. So like for example here, it's a bit of a positive skew, but so that would mean there's more returns that are kind of there's more extreme returns that are pulling to the right. But then you have kurtosis, which is about 8. Sorry, almost 8. It's like 7.5. So maybe more like 7.5, I guess you could say, but it's more like, I guess let's round it to 8. And let's kind of understand this for a second. Like, so we can see there's a bit of the drawdowns kind of show that, like, yeah, that kind of like it's, and the drawdowns is just kind of like drilling the nail there, that it has been kind of underperforming. Um, rolling volatility. I mean, so this is what I wanted to cover actually. So you see how it's like kind of like you notice where it drops. It kind of drops at the beginning of every month. And so it kind of is a bit cyclical. And more recently, where you've seen the drop, it's become less and less and slightly moving. So like let's actually zoom out and we can I can kind of show this better. I'll just move these so it's not in the way. Let's go back to November. No, let's go back to. I'm kind of curious actually. Before we go and look at deposit from water, and remember we saw that in like the early 2000s, it was very, very high. I'm kind of curious, and we'll compare. But let's go to. I guess let's do this. 2006, 2000 and actually let's go to 2010. January low data. I don't know why that changed. That shouldn't have changed. Sorry, it's a bit of this. This terminal might be a bit more. I built this myself, so it's a bit. I signed it myself, so it's a bit. Still a bit buggy. So maybe so we can double check some of those metrics after. We can double check though. I can double check why that's changed. It should have changed those numbers, but yeah. So you see how you notice like it's kind of weird. Like kind of jump. It looks very cyclical, and I guess when we zoomed in beforehand, and let's zoom in again even further. Sorry, 97, 98. Let's go there. Loading. Nope, not working. Should be working. Here. Let me rerun the program. Sorry, hold on a second. Um, where's RStudio? Handy little shiny app. So something that's interesting. So sorry, NOG. I'll remove these. I have a bit of default stuff going on. Let's try and zoom out. Let's go back to 2019. Let's go back all the way back. 99 or 2000, sorry, June. Let's go to I don't want that. 2001. Should not working. Shoot. I guess maybe that's a bug I gotta fix. Maybe it doesn't. Let's see if it's working. I go back to today's date. 125 July. August 14th. That should be fixed. It was working before the stream. Anyways, I won't dwell on it more, but the idea is that I was trying to get at was, and I'll go back to the chart to show you kind of, was it is very it's cyclical, and what's something interesting is it might mean, because first of all, I'll go back to the company. Like the company, basically, what they do is they're investing in upstream. They don't own the assets. Essentially, what they do, technically, they invest in it, but they don't carry out the operation. They're non-operational. So essentially, what they're doing is they're buying a minority share of an oil well, for example, and they're getting revenues from it after, I guess, after all the overhead and all the, I guess, after the royalties are deducted. So basically what they're doing is, so there could be there, one kind of, so off the top of my head, one thing that could be happening here are, is more conservative, like I guess where you see how some dips some dips are less, down, or I guess are less, or some dips are less than others, like other dips. Sorry, I'm losing my words here. Other dips seem to be more pronounced, I guess, for lack of a better word. I guess that's a good word, pronounced. So there's more. I guess there's more. It makes sense. I mean, at the beginning of the month, I mean, it could be there's more people are more. There's more. But right before it takes off, I guess that's when people are. I guess they're purchasing more likely from a technical standpoint. I guess more likely that they're purchasing beginning of the month. I mean, I guess that's not the best answer. That's kind of off the top of my head. Something interesting too to kind of look at. It's kind of like looking at the regression, and I don't know why the beta is not working, but um, I'm trying to see if I can get this to fix because it's really messing up my train of thought. 2025, August 14th. Okay, it's actually working. I don't know why it wasn't working before, but here's what I wanted to show basically. You see how there's a lot of cyclicality, I mean, and the rolling volatility. This is kind of a sign that, yes, at the beginning of the month, you kind of see there's a lot of buying and selling, buying and selling. I mean, also, you saw it too back then when there were like the high returns. The drawdown is kind of like, it's if you were to hold the asset, I guess the drawdown would be your loss if you held it during, I guess, during that period. If you were, I mean, the loss from that from holding it. So I guess if you bought, I don't know, $10,000 of this stock, you might lose X percent. That you might lose the drawdown would show you how much I guess it's more nuanced, but how much that would pull down your portfolio. And you see where it was spiking in the early, again, back before, and now it's kind of, you're seeing like consistently high drawdown, and the alpha is very low. I guess a negative alpha means that essentially you're losing your return. Positive alpha, I mean, now you want a positive alpha. A positive alpha would indicate essentially that your return is that you're getting a positive return. Higher the alpha, the better. That's why they always say maximize your alpha. And we're kind of showing this against the S&P 500, but R squared it shows kind of like it's not really correlated with the overall broader market. I mean, it shows it's kind of it's a positive correlation, but it's a weak correlation. It's a relatively weak correlation. Beta, I mean, and at 1.5 beta, it's kind of, it shows there's like a lot of, would indicate a lot of risk, technical standpoint. And you even see like very highly leptokurtic. For those of you who don't know, leptokurtic, I'll use these terms, though these terms I'll have. A leptokurtic essentially means you have a very tall, high kurtosis, which is essentially how stretched tall your distribution of returns are. And this is kind of important to understand because it kind of gives from a technical analysis standpoint, it gives a bit of an overview of what how the of it gives you a bit of an overview of the of like whether the returns are overall are positive or negative. I guess the bigger the high, I mean, the more skew, the more skewness. I mean, sorry, before I get into skewness, the kurtosis, if it's really high, it means there might be more significant. I mean, there still could be significant outliers, but there's a lot of concentration on around the center. You want kind of a normal distribution. You don't want like overly you don't want overly like you don't want if your kurtosis is really really high and your skew is really low, like we're seeing a 0.5 and a high kurtosis over this time period going back to 2000, kind of shows that maybe there's a lot of concentration of the returns, or the returns overall are relatively concentrated, are low. There's not that many outliers, which is good. But I mean, like even here, like looking at the distribution of quartiles, so it kind of shows basically, without getting into the math, without getting the technicals, high level, what you need to know about this is basically if it's below, you want it to kind of be trending along the line. That shows that it's normal distribution. If there's a lot of if there's a lot of points that go below the line, then the regression line, then you're essentially, it basically means that you're getting a lot more negative outliers. If it's above, it's positive outliers. This is good. This is good, and this is bad holistically. But I mean, theoretically, you want it to be. It's better to have like a more of a normal distribution. That's better, I guess, for long-term investing. Let's kind of zoom back in. I drew it out because I want to show you this, but let's go to 2023, June 14th. I don't know, June 14th, random day of the month. And yeah, I mean that's not even. This is kind of bad as well. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good at the same time. Like very high kurtosis, very low skew. Um, if this kurtosis was like was cut in half, maybe it would be a lot better, even with a point, even with the skew. But again, you see there's a lot of volatility, and the volatility too is again the stock hasn't been performing, going based on technical, the stock hasn't been performing very well. So maybe that's why we're seeing a lot more volatility now in terms of, I mean, we saw a lot of volatility now, but maybe that's why we're seeing so much more pronounced. I mean, in the last couple months, the stock, I mean, I'll even zoom out. Maybe I have it pulled up like to kind of show you what the actual, like, let's go to what Yahoo Finance. The ticker symbol again was NOG. NOG. And I'll bring this up. Well, and we'll end on this with the risk of going on and on, but I kind of want to show this because I think it's important. And this will kind of explain. So let's go to let's go to all. You see, remember I said that it's been relatively stable. Now let's go to year to date, and basically, yeah, you see they've had a negative 33% return. I mean, yeah, like I said before, let's go my 1 day. Let's see my 1 day. I know remember I said my 1 day return. My application's a work in progress. So some of the metrics, the return is not updating properly, but the rest of it should be correct. So here go. Again, it's been pretty bad. I mean, going off this, and I'll say it like this. I kind of wanted to bring this up just to kind of show you again, to show you how it has been very volatile, and that may explain again why there's been a lot of the 20-day volatility that we were looking at. If I'll go back just to show you, like this has been very pronounced in more recent months. It's just because you look at let's go back to finance. If you look at like the 1 month, the 6 month, you just see a lot of selling and selling. It's not like return, negative 33% return. So I mean, we didn't go into the fundamentals, but just kind of understanding what they do, based on what they do, based on how they performed. I think there's a lot more. It would be interesting to monitor this company more closely. Maybe look at the fundamentals. Maybe in future episodes we could look at more fundamentals. Again, if people end up watching this video, or or in future episodes, if you guys join, we can you have questions, we can kind of explore that live. The whole point of this, and I'll close with it, the whole point of this is not necessarily that I'm giving a lecture, that I'm talking, going on and on and on about a stock, but maybe there's a way that if you're interested in a stock, or you have question about, like maybe we're talking about the sector analysis, or in the future episodes, like in the future live streams, maybe we can have more of an engaging discussion. Hopefully. Anyways, see you guys next week.